How that works is a lawsuit must be initiated against all liable parties to start the process, and the court is involved in every step of the way. Now, the provinces that are involved in the judicial sale process include Alberta, BC, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Quebec, and Nova Scotia. Now, there's six main strategies. There's six main stages of the process when it comes to the judicial sale process. Now, the first one is stage one is when the bank issues a statement of claim. That's the legal document that's prepared down at the courthouse and sent out to the homeowner. Now, this is typically after you've missed at least 3 payments on your mortgage, and it's questionable as to your ability to service and finance the financing of your home. So this usually takes place after you've missed 3 payments. The lawyer for the representing the bank will actually file down at the courthouse what's called a statement of claim, and that starts the action of the foreclosure process. Now, stage 2 is the statement of claim must be served to the owner of the home. Now, the owner has a 15-day period to file a statement of defense. Now, if this is not filed, then the next stage will commence, and stage 3 is when the bank requests in the statement of claim that the court order the home to be sold. Now, the range of time granted by the court is really depending upon the amount of equity in the home and can vary from 1 day to 1 year. The most common redemption period is typically 6 months or less. That's what I see a lot. But it really, as I mentioned, it really depends on the amount of equity. If someone bought a home with 5% down, you add in the CMHC fee. So if they've owned the home for less than 5 years, there's really not a lot of equity there. So the court may have a shorter redemption period than if you've owned the home for 20 years and you have, more than 50% loan to value. Then the bank is a lot more giving you a lot more time when it comes to the redemption period to actually fix to handle the arrears and all the fees that go along with the arrears. So stage 4 is the next stage, and that's when the bank must file the order for sale of the property. This must be accompanied with a property evaluation from an appraisal company. Now, in addition, this step will outline more specifically the dates of the redemption period and how the property is to be sold either by the court tender process or via the MLS at the appraised value. Now, one thing to remember in Canada in these judicial state provinces is the court is obligated to sell the home as close to fair market value as possible. So once a home is actually foreclosed on, and it's a foreclosure home on the MLS, it's the court is obligated to get as close to fair market value of the home as possible, keeping the value of the homes up for the realtors and the real estate board. So you really don't get those huge discounts that you hear about down in the U.S., where you can buy a property for pennies on the dollar at through the foreclosure process, through the judicial sale process once it's actually been foreclosed upon. Okay, so that's the stage 4. Stage 5 is the order of sale must be served to the owner of the home. So these are the stages. This is the process of how this actually all transpires in the judicial sale provinces. And the 6th stage is if the redemption period passes without the owners having the financial capability to pay the arrears, then the home will be sold. Okay, so those are the 6 stages for the judicial sale provinces. So if you're in a home, or somebody who's in a home is going through the foreclosure process in one of those judicial sale provinces, these are the different stages that they're going to be faced with. To give you an idea of the time frames, especially for investors, what's most important is prior to the statement of claim being filed, typically you have up to 90 to 100 days. So from the time you miss your first bank payment, remember you can miss up to 3 bank payments. So if you're on a weekly schedule for your bank payments, for your mortgage payments, once you miss that 3rd week's payment, then they start the process. Now, if you're on a monthly payment schedule, once you miss the third monthly payment, then they start the process. So it varies depending upon what your payment cycle is for your mortgage, whether you're weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, or monthly. So obviously, if you're monthly, it gives you a lot more time to take action prior to the statement of claim. If you're weekly, within 3 weeks, if you miss 3 weeks worth of payments, then the court's actually going to take action. So typically it's after 3 missed payments, not 3 months. So prior to the statement of claim, that can typically be up to 90 to 100 days. Now, after the statement of claim and before the redemption period, that time frame, it really is dependent upon the courts, what the judge has to say, how long they give you for a redemption period, but can typically be anywhere from between the 90 days to 6 to 9 months time frame. So the first 90 days before they file a statement of claim. So after the 90 days, basically you've got a 6 to 9 month window there before the end of the redemption period. And at the end of the redemption period, that's when the bank actually takes over the title. That time frame is usually in around the 6 to 12 month time frame from the time that you've actually started the process. So for investors, obviously the best stage for you to be concerned with is the very first one prior to the statement of claim being filed. For homeowners, that's going to be the cheapest stage for you as well to come up with the money to pay out the arrears and all the associated fees. One thing to keep in mind, and a lot of homeowners don't realize this, is they may miss a payment and then they go and they make the next month's payment. So what they think they're doing is they're making that month's payment, but in reality, they're actually paying the previous month. So they just because they paid the money for the second month, that money actually goes to pay the month that they missed, not that second month. So in actuality, now they've missed 2 payments. They missed the first one, they missed the second one, but they gave the money during the second month, which actually paid the first one back. So if they miss another one, that's 3 missed payments in a row. So which means that they're still in arrears. There's still payments that are in arrears and fees are accumulating. So they've not actually caught it up to date. So that's something to remember and keep in mind when it comes to sort of trying to get, as a homeowner, trying to get out of this situation. Now, profit potential, if you're a real estate investor, profit potential and the time frames for dealing with the homeowners facing foreclosure in the judicial sale. So prior to the statement of claim being filed, so that's within the first 75 to 90 days, if they've just missed a couple of payments at the bank, maybe they just received the notice from the bank as to, the demand notice, catch up your payments, before we take further action, which is filing for foreclosure. This is the place where, as a real estate investor, you have the highest profit potential. And it's the least amount of competition because really nobody knows that the homeowner is going through this process. So it's not registered anywhere in the courts yet. The only people that actually know are the homeowners themselves. And typically they're not out telling everybody that they're in this situation. So what they'll do is a lot of times they'll actually start their searching online to find out how they can fix the problem, how they can fix the situation, because they don't want the home to get foreclosed on. So they're doing all kinds of things, and we'll talk about a little bit later on, we'll talk about the 5 biggest mistakes that they're making. Generally at this point in time when they're stressed out, they don't want to, they don't want the lender to actually start the foreclosure process. So there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of things, and there's a lot of mistakes that they're actually making. Now, the second most profitable time frame is prior to the final notice of the foreclosure, which is typically the 6 to 9 months. This is when prior to the end of the redemption period. Now, it's possible to make a profit, depends on the amount of equity in the home, and there's a lot more competition because it's now public record. Once that foreclosure gets filed down at the courthouse and the statement of claim gets filed, now it's public record. Now, I know in Alberta there's people that search the the court filings every day. They're looking for people that are going into foreclosure or being foreclosed upon. And they're creating a list, and then they're selling that list to other investors, letting them know, making them aware of who's actually going into foreclosure, so that the investors can then start seeking them out, start sending them marketing information, trying to get the homeowner to connect with them to actually try to help them through the process, because it's an ideal opportunity for an investor to make some money, do a deal, take over a home, whatever the scenario is. Now, the third time frame is the foreclosure itself. This is when the owner is no longer in control. This is when the home is actually on the MLS system. So it's by auction or sealed bids through courts, and typically there's a lot of competition. And like I mentioned before, that the court is obligated to try to get as close to fair market value as possible based on the MLS system. So bottom line, the homeowner or investor, you really need to take action and make a decision early in the process, and try to get, if you're an investor, try to get the homeowner to contact you early in the process using your marketing material, using stuff online, because typically the homeowner will start their search online for a solution to their problem. So being there, being the person that's positioned to provide them a solution for their problem is key when it comes to getting in front of the homeowner prior to it being public knowledge. So the process gets started by sending a notification to the owner of the property. Now, the court has no involvement in the process. Under the power of sale clause, the lender can sell the property without any formal legal action to if the homeowner defaults. Now, the provinces that participate in the power of sale process include New Brunswick, Newfoundland and Labrador, PEI, and Ontario. Now, the stages of the power of sale include the default must be at least 15 days, so 15 days with default in the payments. Now, the owner must be notified in writing of the bank's intention to exercise the right of the power of sale. Now, the owner is then given 35 days from notice to pay up all the overdue payments. Now, if it's not paid, the lender sues for possession. Now, once possession is transferred, the property can legally be sold under the power of sale. Now, if the purchaser of the property under the power of sale gets clear title, if the proceeds don't cover the debt owned, the owner can be sued for the difference. And the entire process usually takes between 90 to 120 days, usually. So you can see the difference between the power of sale time frames and the judicial sale time frames. So there's a big difference. It's much quicker in the power of sale provinces. It's a lot less expensive in the power of sale provinces. In the judicial sale provinces, it can drag out for an entire year. It can be very costly because there's court time, court costs. You have legal costs involved because lawyers for the bank are involved. It's a crazy process, the judicial sale. Power of sale, much cleaner, much quicker when it comes to taking over the property. So when it comes to the profit potential for an investor, for example, so prior to the homeowner being notified in writing, this is the point in time that the investor has the highest potential for profit and the least amount of competition. So again, it boils down to, typically these homeowners aren't running around telling people that they're missing payments, or they're going to be notified, or they think they're going to be notified in writing. This is the point in time where homeowners may be searching online for a solution to their problem. So it's really understanding the problems of the homeowner and being able to craft a solution or craft some copy that you can use online that is going to resonate with the homeowner and offer them a solution to their problems and get them to connect with you. So potentially you can go in and make an offer on their home, or go through the process and explain to them what's going to take place and that they need to pay their arrears quickly. So the next second best time frame for profit potential is prior to the expiry of the 30-day period to pay the arrears. There's still a high potential for profit, but there's more competition because now this is public knowledge that they've been notified in writing, so there's more investors involved. There's more investors that know about this. So, you still have a high potential for profit, but the competition has increased. Now, the next one is prior to the lender suing for possession, because it's possible to still make a profit, and it really depends on the amount of equity. And the more there's definitely more competition since, again, it's still public record. And the final one is possession has been transferred. Now, this is the owner is no longer in control. So here there's lots of competition. This is where they're selling it on the MLS or the open market or judicial sale. Sorry, not judicial sale, but an auction. I actually attended one of these in Nova Scotia when I was home in Nova Scotia several years ago. I was actually bidding on a property that was going into foreclosure. I tried to negotiate with the homeowner, and she just didn't understand the process. She didn't believe what I was saying. So I made her a great offer. She didn't want to accept it, or she accepted it, but she didn't want to let me in the house to look at the conditions. So we withdrew the offer. So I decided to go to the courthouse to actually put a bid on the property and try to win it through the auction. And the auction went pretty quick, and it was, I was trying to keep it below what my offer had been, but very quickly the price got rang up by the other bidders, and there's only 3 or 4 of us actually at the auction bidding on the property, but within no time there was a lawyer representing some other investor was there, and he got the winning bid, and he bid more than the actual lenders. So the lender is there, has a representative there actually at these proceedings to make sure that the home goes for at least the amount owing on the mortgage. So the bank will bid it up until the mortgage, the point of the mortgage, to try to get the other bidders to bid higher than what's actually owed on the mortgage. Sometimes the bank ends up with the property. Other times the other investors or the other people that are there are willing to bid more than what the bank has bid. So that is about the power of sale process. Now, just as with the judicial process, the homeowner or investor need to take quick action as soon as possible to prevent the foreclosure process.